Let's say my name is Zero, and on October 25th, 2025, I had a really important decision to make. I had two distinct choices, one of which was to purchase an ounce of gold at the current market price, since it seemed like it might be a good idea. The other was to pre-order an nVidia DGX Spark, which at the time was heralded to be this massive advancement in local AI, even though token prices were lower than they'd been in quite some time, and I just didn't know what to do. So let's say I made one of those choices and then sped up to today. What would that actually look like in terms of local AI? Should I have sold the gold? Should I have just bought 3090s and put those in my personal safe instead? What would have been the better option for running Qwen 3.6 27B? Welcome to AI Flux. Let's get into it. I would like to kindly ask that you like, subscribe, and share this video. But let's get into the real question here of whether or not you should have purchased gold or an nVidia DGX Spark. So obviously the price of gold went up a lot. It went up a lot. Approximately to the point where it really would have cost about as much as buying an nVidia DGX Spark at MSRP. And what's interesting is the DGX Spark had kind of a rough launch, predominantly because most people who are running local AI, and before agentic AI was really a big reason why people were buying GPUs, is that these users were not researchers, and researchers and people who do local AI use GPUs very differently. And this has to do with what they're doing, right? With people who are using local AI, generally speaking, this is quantization, but mostly it's just running inference because we're using these models. We are power users of this technology to get things out of them. And people who are researchers and who are producing models, they needed just a smaller version of a GB200 or GB300 with a very similar shared memory architecture so that they could have a better idea of how to actually make these models. And initially, this was a very confusing thing to local AI enthusiasts. Mostly that models that you would think would perform massively well performed okay, and in certain cases just not very well on these systems, even if you had multiples of them, which you should watch this video if you want to learn more about that. And what's interesting is we've finally reached a point where we're understanding how to use these models better with the DGX Spark and these unified memory models. Now, what do I mean by unified memory? Basically, I mean that the CPU and the GPU share the same HBM memories. So yes, there is in theory a huge speed up because everything's in the same lookup table. If the CPU wants to do something, it's looking in the same place that a GPU is. However, the memory model that is built for inference and running a lot of these models on GPUs is very, very different. And it's why both of these configurations are just a very different animal that come from entirely different continents. And for the longest time, people wrongly thought that comparing the DGX Spark to Apple Silicon in, like the Mac Studio or a Mac Mini, God forbid if you bought one for OpenClaw, was actually very similar. And what's important to note here is that Apple Silicon and what NVIDIA does on the DGX Spark could not be more different. Sure, they're both using HBM shared across a number of different processor types, but the architecture is uniquely its own. And what I'd like to talk about today are some advancements that have started to build a much better case to use the DGX Spark over a pile of GPUs. Because what's really interesting at this price point, which ironically coincides with how much an ounce of gold was at the absolute top, so around $4,000, is that for the same price, or probably a little bit less, you could just go and buy 4 3090s with or without NVLink bridges, and at that point, you have what is otherwise called the value king of AI rigs, with the same amount of VRAM as you would get with a DGX Spark from NVIDIA, 128 gigs, of course at a different speed. Of course, the 3090s don't support things like nVFP4, but the question is, do you really need nVFP4 to have kind of the best performance with these models? And we're gonna get into that right now. So there have been a lot of interesting advancements that have happened really just in the past week. So on April 24th, we started to see the first real deployments of D-Flash in usable Qwen 3.6 27B quants. And this is one of the first leaps that was something you just can't do on a 3090. in theory, you could potentially try this with a 5090, but whether or not you would see a performance gain is an open question. And it's also cool to see that ZLab is finally getting some well-deserved attention. So if you want to learn more about DFlash, there's a video in the description you should definitely watch. But what this provided was a 3 to 5x performance boost on Qwen 3.6 27B on the DGX Spark. It's also really cool that this came out of ZLab, and this is currently pinned to VLLM. You could probably do something similar with SG Lang, but VLLM is currently the way to do this. And things got even better. And we're starting to see some of the fastest entries on the LLM leaderboard be models you actually can't run on a 3090, and that also require enough unified RAM to run anything. So the idea that you could even spread this across multiple GPUs is no longer as cozy a reality as it used to be. And you might think, well, this is kind of bad. I really like my pile of GPUs. But what's interesting is in terms of producing local GPUs at scale and having these things be something you can have in your closet that won't run up, a $400 power bill, the move towards unified RAM NVIDIA hardware, I don't think is the worst thing. And I think the potential for this to become a much more juicy market for NVIDIA might kind of start to save us from NVIDIA doing crazy things like re-releasing the 3060 Ti because they need to sell a GPU to someone that's not a data center. What else can we learn here? This development didn't happen in a vacuum. This started to happen when Qwen 3.6 was released, and it turned out to be really similar to Qwen 3.5. This is something that Meta could take a hint from, which is people who quantize and really love using your models and doing crazy things with them enjoy it when you don't completely rip out and change the architecture every single time you release a model. There were people that initially started posting the ability to get well over about 100 tokens per second on the generative side on DGX Spark GPUs. And the impressive part about this is how this performance is coming from a system that actually has relatively low memory bandwidth. And this goes back to my point about why unified memory systems are so different from GPUs. And it's the fact that the bottleneck is not necessarily how fast you can pull stuff out of the GPU back into a PCI bus and then back up, because it's actually the same going both ways. So you sort of get a speed up just on the fact that you're not having a conversion loss every time you're going from the GPU to the CPU and system memory and back, because it's all the same memory. This is another example of someone getting really great performance using DFlash. And what's also really cool is this doesn't have to kind of cheat with NVIDIA's proprietary NVFP4 precision. This is actually using FP8 precision, which a lot of people would generally refer to as a better model to work from. Int4 models initially were probably the first really quirky performance gain that we saw with the DGX Spark. And people initially were like, well, why is this happening? And it pretty much, again, is using hardware to skip a conversion loss of having to push weights and activations over system memory, basically loading them into the GPU to do anything and then waiting for that to happen. And NVFP4 pretty much just also compressed the activations as well as the weights. And that's why we saw a nice little speed up. But what's nice is the FP8 model is in theory just a more capable model. So it's cool to see that this approach isn't leaning on only NVFP4 and FP8. And unfortunately, you can still really only do this on minimum a DGX Spark. I'll make some future videos on whether or not you should buy the B200 or the B300, but for most people, myself included, I think that's a little bit outside of their budget. Now, another really cool tool that has come onto the scene is this site called Local Maxing. So I'll put a link below. And what's really cool is the #1 spot for Qwen 3.6 is a model that was hosted on the DGX Spark. And ironically enough, yes, it is an NVFP4 model, but it still proves my point that one of the better models to do this, that the hardware that the fastest version of this is being run on is in fact the DGX Spark and not a 5090. So I'm curious what you guys think. We're starting to see a lot of really interesting developments around this. I personally still like my pile of GPUs because I happen to do a lot of other processing on these that are ML Vision pipelines. So to round out the video, I do want to look at a bit of pricing. So if you go onto eBay, there are actually a lot of very curious deals on the DGX Spark coming out of Japan right now. So if I could put DGX Spark, and let's say we want to buy the nVidia version. So you'll see that the nVidia versions are, well, wow, here's one in Germany for only $1,200. You'll see here that brand new from some electronics retailer, $5,000 for the PNY DGX Spark GB10. And generally speaking, if you want to really cheap out and get the Asus version, which frankly, it's nice that they have the power button on the front, you're still going to be paying, around $4,000. And what's also interesting is there are quite a few deals to be had in Europe. So if you're in Europe and you happen to want to buy one of these, you might be in luck. Wow, it's Spain as well. So yeah, buying these new is potentially kind of a hit or miss. If you're willing to buy them used, you might be able to get a really good deal on one of these. Now, if we go to sold items, I want to see here. So this is where things get interesting. So if you're willing to pay a little bit in tariffs and just shipping, you can actually still get these for a pretty good deal. So they're right around $4,000 for the most part. Curiously, outside the US, these are still pretty affordable. Of course, there's still some really interesting scams going on. Like this is a reservation only, so I wouldn't fall for that. Yeah, unfortunately, unless you're in Europe where these are surprisingly inexpensive, here's someone who sold 2 of them for $1,600. That's very, yeah, so if you're in Europe, please start hoarding these and sending them to me in boxes that are not labeled nVidia. So I'm curious, are you using GPUs? Are you using an Apple Silicon-based system? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.